Hello and welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people who make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview local business leaders, community leaders, artists, entertainers, and we will learn from them all about their successes, their challenges, and their connection to Billings. I'm your host, Nancy Brooke, broker and owner at Billings Best Real Estate. And today it is my pleasure to have as my guest Matt Benowitz from the Billings, I'm going to call it Metro Vista Program. Did I get that right?
Project.
MVP.
Yes.
You're the MVP of Billings.
Well, the acronym works out that way, yes.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, I don't really know a lot about the Vista program, and you've been doing this for a couple years now. You're not from Billings originally, but you came here to really make a difference in Billings. So let's hear what the Vista program is all about.
Sure. So AmeriCorps Vista is a federal government agency dedicated to alleviating poverty. And so Vista members serve year-long terms of service at nonprofit organizations. And in Billings specifically, we're sponsored by the Community Development Division of the city to impact poverty within a 250-mile radius of Billings. So we frequently work at nonprofits in Helena, Livingston, and even Bozeman, anywhere in that radius.
Okay. And it sounds like this has been going on since 2009.
Yes, we started in 2009 to maintain momentum for previous anti-poverty and homelessness measures. And since then, we have had 284 people serve year-long terms. And the total economic value of the project, when you include the value of human resources, adds up to $12 million in that time.
Wow. Well, that's a big contribution to the community. It's amazing, though, and I have a list here of some of the ones that have been helped. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and that was in Sweetgrass County. Billings Head Start, Salvation Army, Tumbleweed, just a lot of organizations that we know and feel like contribute to the community. So how do people go about becoming involved with Vista if they have an organization?
So we accept applications for Vista projects on a year-long basis. There are priority deadlines, but our upcoming priority deadline will be in October for projects beginning in March. And if you are the CEO of a nonprofit organization or a government agency, municipal or state, you can submit a Vista proposal on the City of Billings website. And if you can identify an area of your nonprofit service where you could build your capacity to impact poverty in the community.
So what might that be? So how would you talk about an impact?
So Vistas are focused on indirect service. We work behind the scenes to enable the nonprofits to better serve their clients and have broader socioeconomic impact on the community. So the Vista assignment description that each Vista is supposed to work throughout the year has specific objectives and activities that are meant to improve the efficiency and reach of an organization. So for example, volunteer resources, financial resources, community awareness, materials, services.
Well, and I know you worked at the Adaptive Performance Center, which is health and fitness center for vets in Billings. And it sounds like you did a lot of things there last year. This year you're doing something different. You're leading the whole program. But why don't you talk about that as an example?
Sure. It was a really exciting offer to work at APC because they have such a groundbreaking approach, going beyond just purely clinical solutions to break the dam on the veterans' health crisis. And so I was able to do some really cool capacity building work there. Specifically, got a $5,000 grant from the Billings Community Foundation to cover 20 memberships for a year. I assembled a library of academic literature on veterans issues that was valued at $23,000. And I developed their newsletter. I wrote columns advocating their fitness-based approach in local, national, and government publications. Just really making sure that their ability to serve their clients is heightened and as many people as possible know about the groundbreaking work that they do.
Well, and I would imagine like an organization like that, they're so busy just doing the services, keeping the building running, connecting with the people who come there, the members, the vets, that they don't necessarily have time to step back and think about, oh, I need to get this out into national publications.
Yes.
I need to figure out how to get grants. So it must be really a benefit to have somebody like you involved in an organization.
Absolutely. We've found that Vista members, they are the biggest champions of their nonprofits in terms of just kind of being able to develop systems that can be sustained over time, and while freeing up the resources of that nonprofit for their daily operations.
So you're a young guy.
Relatively.
Relatively young. You're very young. What motivated you to do this? As you know, you've been here for 2 years now in Billings, and you're not from Billings, you're from out of state, but you came here just specifically to help our community.
Yeah, my grandfather was a veteran, and he specifically was a casualty notification officer during the Vietnam War, and he really carried the burden of those experiences with him throughout the rest of his life. And so I felt that a program like APC would have done wonders for his mental health, his ability to cope with those traumatic experiences. And so when I heard about their approach, I was hooked. And the fact that this was a fantastic, Billings has one of the highest proportions of veterans in their population of any major metropolitan area. So that groundbreaking approach paired with this area, it was a perfect opportunity to make a difference.
But it's such a, I guess, a testament of somebody giving back, because you're a smart guy. As we talked before the show, I'm sure you could find lots of ways to make a lot of money, and this can't be the best paying job out of college. What motivated you to do that, though, to take this step in your career versus doing something where you're in a startup and making billions of dollars or whatever, whatever you young guys do, you're tech-friendly guys.
I really love to attack collective action problems where everyone agrees this is an issue, a need is not being met, but for whatever reason, you can't all commit to come together to solve the problem. It's too much of a burden. People aren't communicating, and that's what Vista members can do so well, is alleviate that burden, cut through the noise, and have an entire year to improve an organization's impact on the community.
So you just thought it would be fun, rewarding, and then a tribute to your grandfather, it sounds like.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and so last year you had the project, and this year you're in charge of the Vista volunteers.
Yes.
So what is your role this year?
So my job is to ensure that the Vista members, their projects, their host sites have all the tools that they need to succeed. So I've recruited the Vista members. We've looked into direct outreach to university programs to try and get patriotic, passionate young people to commit right out of college. Retention strategies, training and orientation, and of course community awareness.
I am sure there's just more needs in the community than there are people helping as well. But it sounded like you had a pretty good group this year. You said you had up to 9?
At one point we had 9, yes. Yes.
And so what types of projects were the people working on this year?
We have some great projects. Right now we have someone at Eagle Mount Billings who just secured a $10,000 grant from the Washington Foundation to fund equipment, transportation costs, activity fees for adaptive field trips for low-income students in SD2. We have someone at the Native American Development Corporation who just secured $35,000 from the Gianforte Foundation to investigate possibly setting up a credit union for Native American entrepreneurs and artists. And we had a really exciting project with Billings Parks and Recreation, who have been a fantastic partner over the years. And this one specifically focused on the Youth Volunteer Corps, which serves our parks, recruiting youth and giving them better educational opportunities.
So you come for a year as a volunteer. Then what happens? Do you transition to the next community organization, or do sometimes people stay multiple years?
So it's interesting, actually over 40% of Vistas who have served with BMVP, the vast majority of whom have come here from other places. I'm of course from Encinitas, California. But 40% of BMVP members have chosen to live, work, and pay taxes in Billings long-term after their service ends. Many of them are hired for professional long-term roles by their nonprofits.
Okay, so it's kind of cool because they come in and make a difference and people recognize the talent and say, hey, I'd like you to continue to be involved, help us with grants, help us whatever they're doing, membership, whatever their aspect is. That's neat, 40%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I believe, I'm going to mess this number up, but I believe we have contributed, an economist crunched the numbers, and Vista members have contributed about $2.5 million to the local economy in that time through rent, retail services, and so on, just through living here.
So have you found, just being in the community, that there still are a lot of gaps in terms of the needs? It sounds like helping disadvantaged people, people in poverty, people who are homeless, whatever the situation is, like the vets. Have you found that there's just still a big gap?
One thing that should be said is that the nonprofit sector in Montana really is quite impressive. It's the third largest employer in the state. I think 12% of people work for nonprofits. And I think 60% of Montanans donate at least $25 to charity every year. So this is a great place to come and serve because nonprofit organizations and charity work is so integrated into civic life. So it is true that there are needs that go unmet because of those collective action problems, but there is a lot of innovation and passion and dedication in the nonprofit sector here.
Well, and I imagine if you go into an organization, part of the goal must be to sustain what you started long term, because if you're not going to be in the job after a year, so how can you, I guess, light the fire and get things ignited?
Well, that is sustainability is a huge part of what we do. Vistas, they have to keep in mind through their activities, how is this going to continue after you're gone? And so we have internal practices and guidelines that ensure that they are having a proper handoff to the full-time employees at that nonprofit, that there will be an ability to sustain programs long-term.
Wow. And so you've done it now 2 years. So what's on the horizon for you?
That is a great question. I don't know. My last day is next Friday.
Right.
But I want to remain involved in the nonprofit sector and civic affairs. Yeah. So
what would you say people who do the Vista program learn? Just in terms of career, in terms of life, community?
It's a great way for young people to learn skills and to get involved in public life and charity. There are just so many training opportunities that you can get. There are a lot of on-the-job learning opportunities, especially related to technology and communications. You also gain an incredible appreciation for the fact that people have other experiences than you. There are different experiences, different life backgrounds, and so by serving the community and trying to see how can we impact poverty more broadly, you really gain a greater appreciation for experiences that are different from your own.
Well, you bring up a good point, because we live in our little worlds, whatever our world is, and we don't necessarily see things from somebody else's perspective. And if somebody's coming in, either having worked with people in poverty or have been in poverty, they're going to have a totally different worldview than I might, having never experienced it. And so I would imagine that's pretty important to get all those points of data to be able to come up with solutions.
Yes, data is a huge, data collection, data refinement is a huge part of what Vistas do, what AmeriCorps does. I believe Montanans, there was one statistic that was collected a few years ago that found that Montanans volunteer at the second highest rate in the nation, and that data was collected by AmeriCorps.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what do you think it is about Montanans that they want to do that? I mean, how is that different than other parts of the world? Or the country, I should say.
There is an immense amount of community cohesive responsibility, social cohesion, belief in helping neighbors. In fact, the statistic might have been second highest propensity to help neighbors. And so it's just, I've been really impressed with that.
So do you think it almost comes from, and I know we aren't going to have an answer, but we'll just have fun thinking about it, like maybe from the farming and ranching where you have to help your neighbor when there's a storm or, you know, somebody's sick and everybody just pitches in?
No, that's a very viable theory. Yeah, like if you're more isolated, more rural, and you have more natural challenges, just with the land and the weather and the environment, that kind of a lot of like group responsibility and reliability flows from there.
Well, and so if you are a business interested in getting help, you mentioned that there's a website.
Yes.
What sorts of organizations typically would be ones that you would choose? I mean, I don't mean the names themselves, but what is it about them that makes you go, oh, this is a good one for our program?
If they can, so we have priority areas of tackling poverty: education, economic opportunities, veterans and military families, and healthy futures. And there are many different subgroups to each of them. So if they can articulate, for example, we'll have, I'll give you one specific example. STEP Inc., we're going to be having a community garden to impact substance use disorder. So that people who are in recovery from substance use disorder both have something fulfilling to do, maintaining the community garden, and will have greater food security and thus be less likely to relapse. And so that's a spectacular Healthy Futures objective. So being a 501c3 organization or a municipal and state agency and being able to identify that priority area of poverty impact, we'd be thrilled to work with people who can do that.
So what are some of the other ones that you're working with currently?
We have a great project with the MSUB College of Education. A Vista there is working on improving employment and socialization resources for students with learning disabilities. We also have, I did almost immediately get replaced at the Adaptive Performance Center with a fantastic Vista who is wrapping up her term of service there as well. Similar work relating to getting more veterans aware of their programs. We had a project at Tumbleweed where we had a Vista who improved their hot lunch provision. There were due to various logistical challenges, there were about 4 to 5 days a month before he arrived where Tumbleweed could not offer a hot lunch. And he got that down to about 1 to 3 days at an absolute maximum by developing a business outreach calendar.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, and so some of the solutions seem pretty simple, but it's having that time to kind of come up with them and maybe a fresh perspective to come up with them?
Yes, definitely. Encinitas, California, Billings, Montana, they're a little different.
Right.
And we've got all our Vistas right now are from Washington State, North Carolina, Virginia. We've had people from 44 states and the District of Columbia come to Billings. Off the top of my head, one of the only places we've never recruited someone from is Nebraska. That's a white whale for me. Want to get it up to all 50 states.
So you have 6 more?
Yes, afraid so.
So how do you find the people who come in and serve as the Vista staff?
Yeah, so the AmeriCorps maintains a recruitment website where people can use keywords, geographic locations to search for what would interest them. So I was looking for projects related to veterans, and that's how I came across the Adaptive Performance Center. But we are also seeking, I have developed this year spreadsheets with hundreds of different university programs targeting specific interests that might speak to project areas. So for example, we've got a project coming up in August with St. John's United to improve community connections for seniors living in the Chapel Court Apartments. And so I went and researched every single gerontology and aging studies university program in the country and got contact information for all of those professors and university officials. So we'll be reaching directly out to them to encourage them to get that information to their graduating students.
So that's part of your role too, is not just managing the program here, but also recruiting.
Absolutely.
Wow. And I would imagine people could come from all different types of backgrounds, majors. Are they usually college graduates?
We require our Vistas to be college graduates.
Okay. And so what kind of majors do you see?
Oh, all over the spectrum, of course, because it's community organizing and civically related. You get a lot of. I was a political science major. We have a few others as well, but also computer science. We have the hard sciences like biology and chemistry sometimes. Huh. Public administration. Really, it ends up being pretty interdisciplinary.
I would imagine even business people in
yes.
economy, finance. I mean, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. You'd have a variety. I mean, you probably could even have somebody who's like nursing.
Yes, yes.
Compassionate, thinking about how to contribute. That's really fascinating. So what is it that the people who join seem to get out of it? I mean, you had your own unique reasons, but what do you find pulls them to doing a job like this?
A desire to serve their country and their community. I think these are people who really want to step outside of their comfort zone and to have radical empathy for experiences that they maybe don't share, and that they want to have a career in public service, to sustain it, and to build cumulatively on those skills over time.
Who administers the program here?
So we are sponsored by the Community Development Division of the City of Billings.
Okay, because I do know it's on the City of Billings website, yes. So I was kind of curious how that works. So then the federal government provides some funding and then we administrate it here locally.
Exactly.
Well, that must make it a much more, I guess, appropriate to what's going on in our community. Instead of, you know what I mean, if you live in Washington, D.C., you're not going to understand the problems or the situations we have here in Billings.
That's right. We are able to, at the local level, evaluate proposals for Vista projects and reach out to organizations. So we can then pass that along to D.C., and they will either approve or reject them, almost always approve. Yeah.
So what has been the most, I guess, rewarding part about doing this job, now that you've done it for 2 years?
Oh.
And you still don't know what you're going to do next. But
right.
That's okay.
I would say, I mean, this year, to see my advice to the Vista members actually help them has been very rewarding. The Vista we had at Tumbleweed, I provided him academic literature on how to develop a system where various food banks throughout the community would forward donations that had been rejected or couldn't, for whatever reason, internally they couldn't take that particular food item due to their own policies. You could forward it to another organization that does, and he developed a great plan for them. We recently, we have a Vista at Lutheran Family Services just across the street here, and I encouraged him to investigate how refugees and resettled people could work with veterans, because there have been other veterans organizations in other cities that have found very fulfilling and high publicity opportunities for collaboration with immigrant communities, and he just organized a really great podcast episode on mental health between actually a local realtor who is a resettled refugee from Iraq, who was a translator who served heroically with U.S. forces there, and a veteran who is a peer mentor at the VA, and they had a great conversation.
Wow. And so you just come up with ideas, pass it on, and then they just kind of run with it.
So I don't want to take too much credit, but yes, I try to be a good sounding board. Yeah.
Well, and it is, like you said, it is kind of fun to have that impact on the community where, I mean, so often, I mean, you know, not that everything we do can be helpful to people, but to really see the difference it could make, that must just make you feel great when you go to sleep every night.
It does. It's been incredibly fulfilling to be able to see a program impacting poverty take off, take hold, and continue after you're gone. It's an incredible feeling.
So what's on the docket for this coming year? You're going to be gone, but do you have any insight on some of the projects that will be funded?
Sure. Let's see. I've already gone over there's going to be another project at Eagle Mount specifically targeting veterans, both adaptive therapeutic recreation programs for veterans, but also fulfilling volunteer opportunities for veterans. We already got St. John's. Our one project in Helena this August is going to be with the Friendship Center, providing volunteer support services to victims of domestic violence. And I believe I've listed all the others at various points. Yeah.
And so has staff, are they starting to come on board for this year or for this coming year, or did they start here soon?
So we are currently waiting on the passage of federal funding to commence recruitment, but we will be able to start actively recruiting for those August projects very soon.
Right. So it's a timing.
Yes.
It's a timing thing. So they start in August?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if people want to find the program, if they want to volunteer, let's start with where they can go website-wise for that.
You can go to the community development section of the City of Billings website, and you'll see Billings Metro Vista Project under the subheader there. Once you click on that, on the sidebar, there's all kinds of information. You can select a range of PDFs that explain our performance metrics, money raised, volunteers recruited, and various other programmatic goals met for each nonprofit that we've worked with. The host site opportunities page breaks down the process of applying to develop a Vista assignment description that can undergird a project, and just the projects that will eventually be approved and recruited for will be listed when they are when the funding comes through.
And the same thing if you're wanting to, I guess, send out your application if you are a nonprofit, the same place you
yes,
do
exactly
that as
right.
well?
Yeah.
Okay. And it gives specifics about what you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely, yes. We break down those priority areas of education, economic opportunity, healthy futures, veterans and military families. There's an elaborative definition of what indirect service is as opposed to direct service. All of the expectations for Vista service are spelled out there.
Well, and with the 250th anniversary of America, are there any projects related to that are part of the Vista program?
So we actually, it's funny that you brought that up right after I mentioned direct service, because we do have 2 days a year. So most of the time we do that capacity building work behind the scenes, right? But there will be 2 days a year when Vistas perform direct service. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day and September 11th. And so I would imagine, this is pure speculation, but I would imagine that given the celebrations that will be going on that summer, maybe 9/11 Day of Service would have something to do with heritage or history related to the
I would think that would fit in,
yeah.
especially when you're talking about how the people, just have a sense of patriotism in their heart. So I would think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's been such a pleasure getting to meet you and learn all about the Vista program. I wish you well in whatever your future takes you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think sounds like you've been a great asset here for Billings.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and everybody, we thank you so much for watching today, and we hope to see you next time on All About Billings.